Hello, my creative friends. I'm Kim, and I want to welcome you to my very first episode of this vlog, My Artistic Journey. The reason I am creating this vlog is for a couple of reasons. One, if life is worth living, it is worth documenting. And for me as an artist, I have learned that documenting your process, your journey, in anything that you're doing, but especially something in a creative sense, is really important because you can't see on a day-to-day basis how you improve. But if you document, you can go back to where you started documenting and see how you've progressed. So that's kind of one of the reasons I want to do this vlog, is to document my progress on my artistic journey. I also want to inspire and hopefully educate new artists, as well as those wanting to become artists or go into some kind of creative outlet, and let them know that you can do this. You don't have to be born a creative. You don't have to be born an artist or a sculptor or a musician or whatever it is you want to do with your creativity. It is a skill set that can be learned. But there are struggles, there will be challenges, and you will fail. But with the right mindset and the right attitude, you can succeed as a creative. That is what I hope this series is going to do, to help you see my journey and hopefully get inspired and learn how you can have your own journey as well. This first episode is kind of where I want to go back to the beginning for me and what has led to where I am today. So for me, it started when I was a kid. And as far as I can remember, I have always been fascinated with art and creativity. And I remember my mom years ago would always take me to the craft store. And for some reason, I got into those hook rug things. And I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but this is probably, for me, it was probably mid to late 70s. So it was a plastic kind of backing, and it had a design on it, and you had a metal hook, and you had a piece of yarn, different colored, and you put it in there and you pull it through until you make a design. And I remember I loved creating them, but I also remember at the end when it was done, I looked at it, you're supposed to hang it. And I was like, it's kind of ugly. I don't know who would want this on their wall. So they most of the time ended in the trash. But I remember I just enjoyed creating them. So I was like that all the way through middle school. And in middle school, all through high school, I really got into photography. My very first camera was a Canon, little point and shoot Canon. And I took that thing everywhere. I took it to school trips. I took it on vacations, Christmas, Thanksgivings, friends' houses. Whatever it was, I had a camera with me. I still to this day have a box full of photographs, because obviously back then it was film and it wasn't digital. So I had a ton of those. So I did all of that all the way through high school. I ended up going to college and kind of took a break from all the creative stuff for a time. Ended up dropping out of school because the degree I was in was definitely not for me. By the time I graduated, I ended up moving to Florida. Life kind of got in the way. But eventually, in around 2000, I ended up going back to school, and I got my Bachelor of Arts degree in Digital Art and Technology. Unfortunately, it didn't really lead to an actual creative career, because by that point, I was in my 30s. I was already working in corporate America. I was at a law firm. I was making pretty good money. So by the time I graduated, yes, I had a degree, but I had no experience, and I couldn't find a job that would replace my income from my corporate job, so I had to keep working to pay the bills. But I did remember that when I was in the end of my degree, I took a photography class for graphic designers, and that kind of sparked that interest in photography again. So I ended up taking classes more specific to photography: portraits, weddings, understanding lighting, understanding composition, things of that nature. And in 2005, I started a part-time photography business, and I was shooting a lot of weddings. I was shooting portraits, did some nature photography, things like that. And I did that while I worked a full-time job. The problem was I didn't understand the importance of pricing at that time. So I was not paying myself nearly as much or charging nearly as much as what I should. And working a full-time 40-hour-a-week job left little time for me personally. And after about 5 years, I got burnt out and I had to close my business. So in 2010, I closed the doors. Once again, life happened. I had a big disruption in my life, especially around 2013. My whole life basically changed, and I didn't touch photography or, in all honesty, anything creative for years. I just didn't have the emotional ability to do it. My desire, my passion for it basically was gone. Over time and with lots of healing and self-reflection and whatnot, back in 2017, I kind of got back into photography again. I kept all my equipment and I started doing photography again. So I started doing some nature, and then I started doing portraits again. And then I discovered boudoir, and I was excited about boudoir. So I started shooting boudoir, and then the pandemic happened and I immediately had to close my doors because I shot out of my home. So I had to decide what was it that I could do from home. I discovered light painting, so I did light painting for a time. I did product photography, still life photography. I even got featured in a photography magazine for 3 times in a row. But I was starting to realize that I just wasn't feeling all that fulfilled as a photographer, which is crazy considering I started it informally in 2005, and now we're talking about 2020-ish, 22, between 20 and 21, really 22. I think all along I wasn't that fulfilled, but it was not until I really was forced to face, doing all these other things that I'm like, I don't think I enjoy photography, but just there was something missing and I couldn't figure out what it was. I decided to sit down and do some reflection and try to really figure out what it is that I want to do to express myself creatively. And I realized after all this reflection that I knew I was someone who enjoyed creating actual physical things with my hands. Photography was great, but it was all digital. And I didn't feel I got enough of that almost, I guess you could say, tactile feeling of satisfaction. That led to, looking into things I could actually create. I tried many things: candle making, jewelry making. I did cake decorating, and they were all great, but some of them, they just were a little boring, some too much mess, and it was just, one thing or another that I didn't enjoy. And it kind of started leading me into painting, but I didn't think I had the skills or the ability to actually do that. I found one day an abstract class for beginners, and it had such a low price point that I said, what the heck, what do I have to lose? So I took it and I found myself enjoying it. And then I said, let me try something else. So that led me to another class, and that led me to another class, and then to YouTube and to blogs and all kinds of books. And so the next basically 2 years, I spent exploring and developing my voice and my style, trying to figure out who I was as an artist and how I wanted to paint what I wanted to paint. My artistic process basically starts by me trying to get inspired. And how do you get inspired? Well, it depends on each person. Me personally, I love looking at photography, hence my past. I love good artistic photography, but I also like the art of other artists. I watch YouTube to try to get ideas on techniques, all kinds of stuff. There is a book that I highly recommend that you look into if you ever feel you're not getting inspired or you don't have any ideas. It's called Steal Like an Artist. Now, it's not saying to go out and plagiarize and copy. What it's saying is there is truly no original ideas. Most artists are inspired by things that they've seen, heard, experienced, right? Usually a lot of times they watch another artist or see another artist painting and they're like, oh, what if I took that idea and did this twist to it? So the idea is you take the things that resonate with you and you put them in your artist toolbox and you use those as you're developing your artwork, which then helps you to develop your style and your voice. So once I've got my inspiration, I go to my sketchbook and I try and do some sketching as best as I can because I'm a horrible drawer. And then sometimes I'll try and put a color palette together if I'm not 100% sure on the colors that I want to use. And then I grab a canvas and I start painting. Now, learning to paint has had its challenges. It can be and still is daunting at times. But every time I would start feeling like I was getting ready to quit or I just didn't have what it takes to be an artist, especially when I first started, I remembered a lesson that I learned when I was doing photography. And there was a photographer who once said, your first 10,000 photographs will be your worst. So what exactly does that mean? It means in the beginning, you are learning. You are not going to be good. In fact, you're probably going to suck. Bottom line. It just is the way it goes, right? Anyone who has ever become great at anything when they first started, they sucked at it. It's just the way it goes because you're new. You're learning. There is a skill set involved with painting, music, right? Sculpting, anything artistic, creative. It's a skill set like anything else. You can learn it. It just depends on how much you're willing to put into it and how committed you are to getting good at it. So just understand that when you begin, you're gonna fail a lot. You're gonna have a lot of bad paintings, a lot. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that you can't paint, that you can't sculpt, that you can't do something creative. That's not what it means. What it means is you're just learning, and you're going to learn more from your failures and the things that didn't work out than the things that succeed. As long as you understand that those failures are just information. They help you learn. They tell you what you need to work more on, how to get better, what you need to practice, things like that. So to you, my aspiring artist friends, I would like to offer this piece of, for lack of a better word, advice. Be patient with yourself. One thing I learned the hard way is I have to be patient. I know we all want to have results just like that, right? We want to be great immediately, but nothing ever wonderful happened that quickly. No skill set will ever be learned and mastered that quickly. So you need to be patient. And also, don't expect a finished piece of artwork every single time you sit down to paint or sculpt or whatever it is that you do creatively. Because there are going to be times when you're going to sit down and it's just not going to work. You may have to go back and rework it. There's times it just doesn't work out. But if you have a need for that to be a finished piece every time you sit down, you're going to be disappointed a lot. Even professional artists will tell you that every once in a while they hit a bad spot and there's just something about the piece they're working on that isn't working. No matter how much they rework it, no matter how much they try to fix it, it just doesn't work. So then they scrap it and they start over. It happens. It happens to everyone. You're not alone in this. So be patient. You'll be okay. The big thing is to enjoy the process. Don't be looking for that destination. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the painting, the experimenting, the trying new things. That is going to make you a better artist. And if you keep doing that, even when you are quote unquote great, you will continue to grow and learn and improve as an artist. Also, if you get to a point where you want to sell your art, if that's a goal, say, I want to be an artist and I want to sell my art, I want to give you fair warning right now. You will have to follow the 80-20 rule. What is that? 80% of the time, you need to do business stuff like marketing, sales, working on your website, social media posting, videos, and editing. Unless you're planning on hiring somebody, and most people can't, you're going to have to do 100% of that. So 80% of your time is going to have to be dedicated to your business to have a business. And then 20% of your time will be dedicated to actual painting or creating or writing or whatever it is that you need to do creatively. So make sure before you do any heavy investing in anything, understand that rule. Once you can hire someone to do all the business stuff for you, then you can focus 100% on painting or creating. But until that time, you've got to focus on the business if you want a business. My journey as an artist continues to evolve, and I'm excited to see where it takes me next. It hasn't always been easy, but the fulfillment I get from creating makes every challenge worthwhile. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or concerns whatsoever, please don't hesitate to put your questions in the comments below. If there's something you want to share about your journey, I would love to hear from you. Where are you on your journey? Are you just starting? Have you been established? Maybe I can learn from you, right? Please share where you are, what it is that you do creatively. I would love to know. And let's build a community up and let's follow each other's journeys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in episode 2 of my artist journey. Keep creating. Bye.